what can I do in order to keep moving forward and relinquish my sense of victimhood so that the victim mentality doesn't keep me from growing? A little bit about kind of why I think this is an important question. We talk. There's a big difference, and this is the big thing I think that really, in some senses, all humans, but particularly people that have been through significant victimization need to figure out and to make the distinction between, and that is there is a difference between being a victim of an event or of a system even or of whatever it is, forces, people, assault. We can basically, a victim is somebody that bad things happen to that they did not cause. Now, I'm going to emphasize that word there, cause. In other words, you did not do this. It's not your fault. You didn't do it to yourself. If you were sexually abused or assaulted, if you were physically abused or assaulted, if you were emotionally abused or assaulted, if you were victimized by oppressive forces, either in society or economies, or, bad things happen to good people. Okay, that is just true. Now, the first thing we need to do is, if that's true of us, is basically own that and acknowledge it. There's no fault in that. There's no shame in that, even though victims do feel ashamed. And it's a crazy, crazy, crazy psychological phenomenon that an innocent person feels shame about what happens to them. A lot of that is age related. Not all of it, but a lot of it's age related. Kids kind of in a moral development, they kind of blame themselves for what happens to them. A lot of times you see these kids, even kids with divorce, they'll feel like they caused it. But the first part of that is to realize that the victimhood itself is innocent. Okay. Now, it's very important to understand that, because you're externalizing the cause of it. Now, there's a lot of things that really, really happen psychologically when you externalize the cause. When you say, I didn't cause this, I was assaulted or I was molested or I was whatever. What that does is, first of all, it puts you it puts you in a place separate from the badness. So the badness is out there, okay, where it belongs. And when we blame appropriately, okay, then that's the first step to resolution. Also, when we put the badness and the cause out there, and this is the part that gets people stuck, it also enables you to own the powerlessness of your victimhood, because the powerlessness that you had is so much of where the vulnerability is that opens the door to being able to be touched by outside healing agents. And so the attempts to self-medicate are given up, and the powerlessness opens you up to the outside world to say, medicate me, help me. Okay. So there's a lot important to say, to admit, what? I didn't cause this. This happened to me. I was a true victim here. All right. So that's the first thing. Now, the difference, I said, was in being a victim and a victim mentality or a victim identity, or there's other ways to look at this. Now, here's what happens. As I just said, you were powerless. Okay. You couldn't keep this from happening. You didn't initiate it. You didn't cause it. You didn't make it happen. Any of that stuff. Now, here's an important psychological word, in the agency of that, who was the agent? Who had the power? Who had the executive ability to make the decision, to pull the levers and make this happen? It wasn't you, okay? So what happens is the experience of powerlessness, of being a powerless victim, gets internalized into the system, translates into a lot of very complicated psychological and emotional and even neurological systems where someone begins to feel this as a way of being and a way of, as philosophers use the term, being in the world, that I am a victim in the world. Okay. And it wasn't an event, it was who I am and where I live and who, all this kind of stuff. And what happens is the key element of you did not have any power and you did not have any choice now gets translated into a larger scenario of who you are as a person. And so you actually feel, and this is normal, not faulting you for this, but you begin to feel and it carries over and gets generalized to processing new information and new circumstances and new events every day. So when something new happens to you, the powerlessness gets lived out in the new situation. So you feel like, well, there's nothing I can do about everything. And it does get that general in some people's lives that they have a victim identity. So when, for example, let's say you find yourself in um, let's say your kid's in a crummy school, okay? And there's stuff going on in the school that well, that's the way the educational system is. Well, that's the way this is. That's the way it works. Nothing we can do about it. But there might be somebody else sitting in there and who says, wait a minute. We don't have to we don't have to just let this happen. We have choices. There's some things we can do about it. And they start to activate and they get a bunch of parents together and then they go see the school board or they go see the what do you call it, the school council or whatever it is, the governing bodies or the teachers or the PTA or whatever it is, or in a company, same kind of thing, or in a marriage, same kind of thing. You got one person that's being dysfunctional, the other person feels like there's nothing I can do about it, I'm powerless and I just kind of have to live with this. That's what we mean by victim identity. So the biggest step after claiming your victimhood and owning it and getting healing is to begin to relinquish and give up the perceived reality that there is nothing I can do about this, whatever this is. Okay? I don't have any options. I don't have any choices. The key component to resolving a victim mentality is the re-owning that you have choices. We always have choices. What happens is people get fixated on that they don't have the options that they want or which might even be best, but we always have options. We can reach out for help. We can build community. We can find new solutions. We can give up what particular path we wanted and choose another one. We can educate ourselves. We can take courses. We can develop new skills. We can develop new competencies. In a relationship, we can go for growth and change even when the other person does. There are always things that we can do. And what a proactive person does is regains the basic sense of something we call autonomy and freedom. And they don't give up their freedom to a mentality of, I'm just a victim. There's nothing I can do. Poor me.